Alcatraz, Trio's escape. In 1962, three inmates pulled off one of the wildest prison escapes ever from Alcatraz, the toughest, most escape-proof prison in America. Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers, John and Clarence, spent months planning their break with nothing but determination and makeshift tools. They bored through ventilation shafts using spoons and sharpened metal scraps, slowly carving a tunnel to freedom. But escaping the cell wasn't the whole challenge. They built life jackets and a raft out of stolen raincoats to survive the freezing waters of San Francisco Bay. On a foggy night, June 11th, they vanished into the darkness. Frank Morris was known for his brains, while the Anglin brothers were fearless and bold. Together, they proved no prison is truly escape-proof. The FBI officially closed the case in 1979, assuming they drowned. But mysterious clues, like a found paddle and reported sightings, keep the legend alive. Did they make it? No one knows for sure, and that mystery fuels one of the most notorious prison escapes in history, the Japanese Houdini. Yoshie Shiratori turned prison escapes into a masterful craft, earning the nickname the Japanese Houdini. Between the 1930s and 1940s, he broke out of 4 separate Japanese prisons, each escape more daring and unbelievable than the last, like something from a magician's act. Shiratori's story started with a murder conviction he always denied, but instead of giving up, he became a master escape artist. In one escape, he squeezed through a tiny drainage hole barely 8 inches wide. Another time, he used a sharpened toothbrush to saw through his cell bars. The guy's creativity knew no bounds. What really sets Shiratori apart? His knack for slipping away in the toughest conditions, like escaping from solitary confinement and even a high-security prison with guards on high alert. He wasn't just running. He was outsmarting every obstacle, every time. How did he pull it off? Shiratori's escapes were all about patience, smarts, and a refusal to be caged. Despite being beaten and thrown into harsh conditions, he kept finding a way out, sometimes spending hours hiding before making his break. Ever wonder how someone could escape 4 times from different prisons? Shiratori's story answers that with guts and grit, proving that sometimes brains beat brawn, and tiny toothbrushes can be deadly tools. Réau helicopter heist. Redouane Faïd pulled off one of the craziest prison escapes ever by using a helicopter. In 2018, at Réau prison in France, Faïd's getaway didn't involve digging tunnels or sneaking past guards. It involved flying out of the prison courtyard. On July 1st, a helicopter landed inside the prison grounds, and Faïd climbed aboard, escaping before guards could react. The pilot was an accomplice, perfectly coordinated to swoop in and whisk him away. This escape was the ultimate show of boldness and planning, resembling a scene from an action movie rather than a real-life breakout. Faïd wasn't new to daring escapes or armed robberies, but this stunt raised the stakes, proving that even the toughest prisons can be breached from above. The authorities launched a massive manhunt, and although Faïd was eventually recaptured, his helicopter escape remains one of the most audacious prison breaks in history. Mailbag escape. Here's a prison escape story that's so clever, it sounds like a movie plot. Richard Lee McNair's 2006 mailbag escape turned a routine day at the post office into a jailbreak spectacle. How do you slip out of prison using nothing but a mailbag? McNair showed us how it's done. Richard Lee McNair was already a legend behind bars, having escaped twice before. But this time, his getaway was all about patience and nerve. While working in the prison's mailroom at a federal prison in North Dakota, McNair spotted an opportunity. One day, he climbed inside a large mailbag meant to be shipped out. Then, the bag was loaded onto a truck and sent off, right past the prison gates. That's right. McNair simply hid in plain sight inside a mailbag, getting himself shipped out like regular mail. No fancy gadgets, no high-flying helicopters, just guts, brains, and a willingness to squeeze into a giant sack and wait it out. Once outside, McNair made his way to Canada and was on the run for months. Authorities finally caught up with him in 2007, but this escape remains a standout for its sheer ingenuity and boldness. So why did this work? McNair knew the prison's routines and used them against the system, proving that sometimes the simplest ideas make the biggest impact. Texas 7 Breakout. In 2000, 7 inmates pulled off one of the most infamous mass prison escapes in U.S. history at Texas's Connolly unit, known forever as the Texas 7. This wasn't a simple breakout. It was a carefully planned, high-stakes operation. On December 13th, these dangerous and determined men overpowered prison guards, stole their clothes and weapons, and slipped out of the prison under the radar. Their escape showed not just brute force, but teamwork and strategic planning that caught officials off guard. After getting out, the Texas 7 stayed on the run for weeks, committing more crimes to sustain their freedom. Their spree included robbing stores and stealing a car, living like a criminal crew straight out of a movie. The manhunt that followed gripped the nation, ending with 6 captured and 1, Larry James Harper, killed in a shootout. This breakout exposed serious flaws in the prison system and became a dramatic example of how calculated and dangerous prison escapes can be. The Texas 7 story remains one of the craziest escapes ever, proof that when ruthless inmates work as a team, even the tightest locks and guards aren't enough to hold them. Papillon's fight for freedom. Henri Charrière, better known as Papillon, wasn't your average prisoner. He was a man with a nickname meaning butterfly, and his escape stories from the French penal colony in the 1930s and 40s earned him legendary status. But before all that, in 1969, the world got a peek behind the scenes with the archival release of Papillon de Pigalle, capturing the man behind the myth. Convicted for a crime he insisted he didn't commit, he was sent to the infamous Devil's Island. But giving up wasn't in his nature. Papillon made multiple escape attempts, including daring swims, treks through jungles, and clever disguises. His nickname fit perfectly. He was always fluttering just out of reach. The 1969 Papillon de Pigalle archive footage shows us a man full of charm, wit, and relentless spirit. He was not just escaping physical bars, but fighting to break free from the shadow of his past. His stories inspired a blockbuster film and countless retellings, mixing fact with legend. But one thing is clear. Papillon's escapes redefined what it meant to be a fugitive. What's so fascinating about Henri Charrière? It's his refusal to accept defeat. Whether crawling through mud or dodging guards, he believed freedom was worth every risk.